You ever notice how the best moments at work aren't in the job description? They're the ones that happen by accident. Someone brings donuts on Friday, a secret Santa gift from someone who you barely know, the way everyone stops working for 20 minutes to celebrate someone's birthday in the break room. These moments cost nothing. They generate zero revenue. They don't appear on any quarterly report or productivity metric. And that's exactly why they're dangerous. Because to someone obsessed with efficiency, with optimization, with squeezing every drop of value out of every moment, those moments aren't celebrations. They're waste. And waste must be eliminated. This is the story of a boss who decided to do exactly that. It started as a thought, a tiny seed of an idea. What if all those moments of connection, the ones that made people feel human at work, what if they just disappeared? The tinsel and ornaments on the cubicle desks, the secret Santa gifts wrapped and waiting under desks, the cupcakes in the break room, the roast fish, the salmon hash, all of it. He walked through the office at night, seeing not as it was, but as it could be, empty, stripped, meaningless. I must stop this job party from coming. But how? The boss smiled. He had the answer. And the answer was perfect. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Grizzly, he rode with his load. Empty bags in his fist, empty heart in his chest. Alright, Bear. Well, you really kind of trying to ruin everyone's Christmas, and that's kind of a bummer, but I get it. It's kind of, what is that, workplace retaliation? I guess the worst you did is just, take everyone's snacks and gifts, but at least everyone's going back home anyway. I've got a couple. Honestly, all these articles are about you, Bear, and how you're ruining everybody's life. I'm so sorry. We should think about how to use our AI more effectively. Okay, so we got 4 articles here. One's about AI-generated Workslop. Another is about worrying that people are automating things that they don't understand, therefore breaking it, probably. What's that thing? Who said it? I got it from a Tim Ferriss book. It said, it's escaping me now. Hold on. I feel like I need to look it up. Okay, we're live. Finally. All right. Let's go back up to the beginning. $1 million problem. We need to zoom in a little bit here. Oh my gosh. Come on. There we go. Better. Jose Luis Bayless Inc. Something strange was happening at Jeff Hancock's work. It was 2022, just after OpenAI's release of ChatGPT to the masses, and Stanford professor noticed something that was off in the research assignments he was grading. They looked pretty good, but not quite right. Hancock tells CNBC, make it. And then because I had 100 students, I could see that 10 other assignments looked exactly the same with that sort of not quite rightness. What could it be, Bear? The papers in question seemed to have a lot of the text without saying anything substantive to advance the work. And they also did so in the same overly wordy style. Kate Niederhofer felt the same kind of sinking feeling of suspicion when she was once asked to speak about her research, but the request summarized her studies in a way that revealed they didn't actually know her work. Ouch. Ouchies. Reading messages that missed the mark felt like deep effort. Niederhofer says, I'm a quick reader normally, so I thought, why is this feeling so effortful? Also, this is so confusing? ? Niederhofer and Hancock now have a name for this phenomenon. The feeling, I know this feeling. I didn't even need to finish this sentence. The feeling you get when you're reading a message or document that's so convoluted or incomplete in thought that you start to wonder, wait, did a human even write this, or is this AI? It's called Workslop. And it's killing teams and productivity across all kinds of businesses, they say. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like it's kind of awkward, too, because then what do you do? What do you do when people go, they think, here's this polished, beautiful work, and they give it to you, but it's absolute trash? Ugh. I don't know. Let us see. 40% of people have received Workslop. I feel this feels vaguely familiar. I don't know if I've read this exact article, whatever, let's keep going. To the research from Better Up, or Nighthoffer's vice president, their research labs, blah, 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 blah. It created a situation where I had to decide whether I would rewrite it myself, make him rewrite it, or just call it good enough. See, because then here's the weird part, because it says, make him rewrite it. Would he, though? Because he didn't even do it the first time. Is it going to be any better the second time? He's going to use a different prompt and not try it all still again for time number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like AI art or features that are so-called slop life. What is... I'm learning so much, guys. What does this mean? That came before it. Workslop looks familiar in an off-kilter, uncanny way, but at its core, devoid of any real meaning. Think long, fancy-sounding, copy-pasted language that doesn't say anything. Some 40% of people say that they've received Workslop in the last month. Oh, I definitely have. According to a recent Better Up and Stanford survey, you know what is also super annoying? I like to think I'm a pretty decent writer, but when I do get Workslop, it's based off my writing, but it's like a way worse version of it, and it's such... it's kind of sad. Like, I tried really hard to make that sound good, and then just this Workslop makes it sound like trash. Anyway, one survey respondent, a finance worker, recalled how receiving AI-generated work from a colleague led to more work for them. It created a situation where I had to decide whether I would rewrite it myself. Yeah, make him rewrite it or call it good enough. Another respondent, in director in retail, said they wasted time following up on information they were sent and doing their own research. I then had to waste even more time setting up meetings with other supervisors to address the issue. Then I continued to waste my own time having to redo the work myself. So what's even the point? What's even the point? It's like, did you do it right the first time? Take a little bit longer and save everybody else time down the line. Okay. Hey, there are telltale signs of Workslop, including purple prose. What is that? Like using 3 paragraphs of text when one bullet point would suffice. It may appear in different forms, from bad code to decks with incomplete information or just strangely worded emails, but it all has the same effect of adding work onto the recipient to make sense of it all. And ultimately, it can erode trust and productivity. Nighthoffer has herself judged the people who sent her Workslop. Why did they do this? Can they not complete the job by themselves? Do they even have the competence to do it? Are they lazy or just incapable? This is a question. She didn't write that. Those are my ponderings. I don't want to work with them again. That's absolutely true. Yeah. The end result is confusion, annoyance, wasted effort, and then some serious layers of judgment. Very true. Yeah. Oh, the 9 million Workslop productivity tax. That's pretty steep. AI has doubled at work since 2023 from 21 to 40. Yet 95% of organizations don't see a measure. Oh, no, this is terrible, Bear. You're supposed to help people do things, but now you're just making more work. That shouldn't be how it is. According to the recent MIT Media Lab report, Workslop could be a big reason why. Yeah, it's just laziness. Okay, people who've encountered it say they spend an average of 1 hour and 56 minutes dealing with the aftermath of it. For an organization of 10K workers, that's a 9 million hit to productivity in a year. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. Worth noting, it doesn't account for any productivity gains reported by companies or the employees. Okay, well, I think if there was a gain, I think it would be by the type of person who does not submit Workslop. You know what I mean? So probably, yeah, who knows? Who knows how that Pareto principle is panning out. Now that the effort piece is gone, I can generate a lot of useless... this sucks. Now that the effort piece is gone, I can generate a lot of useless or unproductive content very easily. Great. Beyond the financial cost is an emotional one. Recipients of Workslop say it takes time, mental energy, how to diplomatically address a subpar work with their colleagues. That's true, yeah. So you have to have a conversation. It's like if you still have to keep. Yeah, I'm struggling with that because I don't even know how to do it. So just go, okay, I guess everything I get from you is now going to be really bad quality, and I don't know how to fix that without telling you that your work sucks. And that's a weird conversation to have. Anyway, receiving it makes people rethink their colleagues' abilities. Roughly half of workers say they consider their coworkers less creative, capable, and reliable after receiving Workslop from them. About 1 in 3 say they notify their teammates' bosses after receiving confusing AI-generated work, and a similar share are less likely to want to work with the other person afterward. And though sloppy work has been around forever, AI takes it to another level. Yeah, it's like you could try even less. For me to produce sloppy work, I still had to put a fair bit of effort. Yeah, No.
At least pretend to kind of know what's going on.
No.
It can be thoughtless, but it still requires effort. Now that the effort piece is gone, I can generate a lot of uses of unprotected content very easily. Yeah. The phenomenon's human cost is driven by shifting the burden onto the other person without recognizing that impact implicitly. People forget that because we're thinking of AI as a tool with which we work alone. With which we alone work, but that's not the case at all, especially if you're on a team. But actually, it's mediating human-to-human work. Yeah, reducing workslop, minimizing low-quality AI-generated work, and all the consequences that come with it. It's up to organizations that bring AI into the fold. Yeah, businesses should focus on an organized approach to adopting and promoting AI work. Without guidance and leadership, he says, workers may act out of fear. If they don't use AI, they'll be replaced, but if they do, they'll be judged for it. Well, if they do a bad job, they'll be judged for it, yeah. But what produces Workslop is a team's commitment to task quality. Well, also, you know, this is maybe a couple-fold because AI can, I think, could be really helpful, but it's like a second. What do you say? It's like a second skill, second level of competency. So if you marry them both, like your expertise and then the expertise in AI, I think you can, be very efficient. That's, I'm thinking the more I learn about how to use AI, the better my quality of work becomes. That's just personal experience. AI can be incredible, but it's in stark contrast to this really copy and paste mode where you just let the tool do all the work for you and you forget to let it augment your human competencies. Yeah, that's also another fear of mine. Like, is it going to make me dumb if I just don't try? It could. It very well could. Yeah. That also requires being forthcoming about when and where you're using AI. Say you are pressed for time and I wrote 3-4 documents, all using AI, but I combed through it all with a fine-tooth comb. It took me 4 hours to come up with the document that I wanted, but it would have taken me probably much longer if I did it by hand, but 4 hours is still a long time for a document. Anyway, long story short, the point is it wasn't Workslop because what's the word?
Whoa.
It's really making sure the quality was controlled. Okay. Leaders should focus on human agency and encourage a pilot mindset to see how tools can give them more control in their workplace. Managers should be able to provide specific reasons why they want to use certain AI tools for certain projects and have clear messages on guidelines, policies, and training. Okay, see, that's... Wow. Man, this is so exciting because you know how we literally read in this article, wow, people are afraid AI is going to take their job. But what is it saying? It's saying because of Workslop, we're actually generating more work. But I think the solution is... It's just me, okay? Humble layperson. Training for people, and look, that's generating a whole new industry of jobs and competencies. Knowing how to use AI and then merging that skill with other competencies. Very exciting stuff, I think. I know this really sounds like a bummer kind of article, but I think I see an opportunity here, honestly. Yeah, it's like a lot of work. Come on, all things are possible. Let's be positive. Living the slop life. Oh, jeez, what is this? Oh, I can't see that. Okay. Well, that looks delicious. Oh my gosh. Ooh, I'm afraid we're automating this work without really understanding it. See, that's kind of scary. And sometimes not a big deal. I mean, it's always a big deal because you're wasting your employees, and coworkers, like just waste, a lot of waste generated. The power, your time, their time, everybody's time. It's just, what's the point even? But it's just scary. It's just scary because, like, when you think about your doctor using AI, and if they don't, what if your doctor workslops your chart? Devastating. You don't want that. Summary: AI is often touted as a way to handle busy work, to free people up for tasks that matter. But in the race to add automation to pretty much every job, it's rare that people question what exactly people are being freed from, and which tasks actually matter. This interview with sociologist Alison J. Pugh explores what she calls connective labor, why it's under threat from automation, who will be most affected, and what we'll lose as humans if it disappears. Wow, this is good stuff. Thank you, Miss Allison. At this point, AI has touched pretty much every workplace and every job to some degree, from customer service to medicine to... I despise AI in customer service. You know what? Because I'm always like, talk to the human. Even if the human hates me, it sucks. They're just like, oh, I'd still rather talk to them than a robot. to medicine, to the little automated pop-up that appears whenever I cut and paste something into a document. This can sometimes be handy, other times degrade. So tell us, what is connected labor? This type of labor involves seeing the other and reflecting, understanding back. That's one of my favorite parts of the work. You look into people's needs and then serve those effectively. Yeah, efficaciously. An action critical to millions of jobs, including people working not just in healthcare, counseling, or education, but also in legal, advertising, entertainment industries, management, real estate, tourism, and even security. The humanity of this work is threatened when automation prevents us from recognizing and truly being present with other people, or when we have to collect data about every interaction instead of focusing on the human in front of us. Oh, look at that. The first chapter of the book features a hospital chaplain who must record her interactions with patients in no fewer than 3 different... what a nightmare. Then you're not even talking, you're just using the systems. You're just a conduit for the systems. Wow, that's terrible. Gathering information that probably isn't even necessary for her to do her job successfully. Is there any way to get that passively? Like, isn't that the magic of AI? She can, like, focus on the person or he. Attempts to use technology to solve our perceived inefficiencies or to supposedly free up for meaningful work that matters also raises a broader question. Who is going to be freed and what counts as meaningful? I recently posed a few questions to Pew over email to better understand. What will we visibly go too far? Leaders who are considered integrating AI into the technologies. This is an edited version. Okay, great. One HBR commonly argued benefit of incorporating things like generative AI into work tasks is that busy work in front of screens, this is Javon's paradox, it doesn't exist, it's just going to generate more work, will be reduced or eliminated, like we literally just read in the previous article. Via slop. Okay, anyway. Allowing for more human connection with colleagues, clients, patients, that would be ideal, yeah. Or customers. In other words, that the technology is beneficial in part because it will bring people closer together, which will in turn make people happier and more productive. In your research, does this rationale ring true? And if not, what does the thinking miss? That kind of a change would indeed be a huge benefit. So many of us are beset with mind-numbing tasks in our jobs that the idea that we could slough some of them off onto machines sounds positively utopian. Perhaps that is why the AI will free us up for meaningful work is such a common idea out there, promulgated by AI researchers and economic analysts alike. Yes, yet his argument relies on a certain naivete about, oh dear, about capitalism. I think at least as it is currently practiced in the United States, if AI takes work off our hands, it is likely that employers will then seek to fill our days, yes, with more meaningful tasks, or that they will instead take the opportunity to eliminate jobs and reduce their workforce when they can. Yeah, that tracks. I love the vision of people closer together, happier and more productive, but that vision also relies on the notion that human connections with colleagues, clients, patients, or customers are highly valued, and I'm afraid that's not currently evident. If they were prized, then perhaps researchers would not find that more a job involves face-to-face communication with clients or customers, the less it is paid. Wow. If they were prized, then perhaps researchers would not find that the more a job involves face-to-face communication with clients or customers, the less it is paid, controlling for skill and other characteristics. Honestly, that's true. I feel like whenever I talk to people, they like literally do not care and don't want to pay me for it, which I get it, but because they're like, what's the tangible, what am I getting out of this? But like, you really want it though, because it's so much easier to talk to people. If we treasured human connection, we would not ask the same people who are in charge of forging it, the teachers, primary care physicians, and others, to spend their time collecting data, fitting in their connected work on the side as they can. Instead, our current management practices suggest we don't really value this work. And if that is true, then AI is unlikely to be deployed so that we can accomplish it better. So there's the crux of the matter. Indeed, I wrote The Last Human Job in part to spell out what this connected labor is, how people do it, and why it's so valuable. I'm afraid if we're automating this work without really understanding it, and thus, what is at stake? What are some examples of how technology, be it Gen AI or something else, promises to create connections or improve workers' experience, but instead does the opposite? Wow, this is great stuff. There are many examples of tech gone awry, e.g. chatbots that respond to people confessing their depression with, maybe the weather is affecting you. Offering weight loss tips to eating disorder clients. Well, I mean, how does a computer know? It's not meant for that, right? I don't know. I don't know if there's therapy bots are the right ones. But it's the person, yeah? Some organizations are racing to embrace AI before it's reliable enough to put unsupervised contact with people. Well, they're going to learn the hard way, I think. But even when the technology performs as promised, it affects human relations. I talked to one woman who worked as a coach at a startup that offered cognitive behavioral therapy in an app to people with social anxiety. The firmly express forbade her from doing therapy and did not pay her or expect her to be a credentialed counselor, but the clients themselves ended up treating it like an inexpensive talking cue, with some working with her for months at a time. She told me how hard it was to hear about her client's trauma and how she had no training in how to handle it. Okay, wow. The impact of AI on her job was threefold. First, she was a classic example of what Harry Braverman once called de-skilling. Oh. I haven't heard this word and it makes me sad that it exists. Okay. Making people less valuable. I mean, I get it from a business perspective, but gosh, it sure is not good for her. When a firm breaks down the component parts of a particular job and then hires cheaper labor to complete much of the work. Now, while Frederick Tyler might have done this to bricklaying a century ago, today's AI does this to socio-emotional work. The startup had divided the therapist's job into the app software and a team of untrained, uncredentialed coaches. Second, her work was made invisible, as the firm denied that her regular encounters with the clients counted as any sort of counseling. This kind of invisibilization is a common enough finding for other examples of AI automation, where unseen armies labor behind the scenes to train models about whether something is a bagel or a dog, for example. But as it turns out, it applies to the automated to connecting work also. Finally, she faced the existential problem of having to prove that she was human to customers. Used to working with machines, the technology incontrovertibly shaped her experience, making her feel somewhat automated herself. Well, I mean, she basically is. That's what her bosses did now. She's Louise. Are there things executives and managers can do better in thinking about what technologies they want to introduce in their organizations and why? Are there key questions that they should be asking about the technology, what their organizations really needs, and what their employees might experience or feel while using it? The key issue, oh my gosh, it's not, this thing froze again. I wish you could just tell me when that happened, viewer, but I know you can't because you're not here in this exact space time. So, but thank you. I know you told me in spirit. I appreciate you. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Well, I mean, I was basically reading it verbatim, so I don't think you missed on much. The key issue is that the technology is not a neutral force that might simply solve a problem, but that it reflects the culture of the firm where it is introduced. Good point. And business leaders have a lot of influence on what that culture is, particularly how it may or may not encourage human connections between workers and their clients. I analyze firms where workers managed to forge strong connections and others where they did not. The difference comes down to not just material factors like adequate time, money, and space, although of course those factors are important. It also matters whether leaders articulate a vision with commitment to human connection, whether they foster mentorship and sounding boards for workers to process what they are hearing, and whether they help to enact the norms and rituals that prioritize relationships. Any leader seeking to introduce new technologies users into their organizations should ask themselves how the tech would affect those factors. We might call them connection criteria. How given technology affects the way humans relate to each other, and applying it clarifies the potential of impact introducing new tech that not just for core services or patents for clients, but also interactions among firms' workers. How do you see the next 5 years of technology? Wow, fun. One future is a triage model where AI takes care of the easy cases, leaving the more complex ones for humans to handle. We can see an example of this wherever you call an airline to find yourself shouting agent again and again and again. Yeah, that's me. Another future is inequality model where rich people get human attention from workers who are themselves serviced by a bot. Again, the seeds of this are being planted right now. We know that the fastest growing occupations are those that involve personal services to the affluent. When I spoke to my AI engineers who are designing AI couples counselors, wow, or AI discharge nurses whose dishes blah 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 for disadvantaged folk because they are better than nothing. The third kind of future we face is a binary model which involves separating out thinking from feeling, with thinking reserved for machines. Oh no. No. So much no. That distinction used to be made between men and women in the workforce and led to significant gender pay disparities. At first blush, this future seems most hopeful, in which empathy, social sensitivity, listening skills, or caregiving morphs from attributes associated with femininity into those that convey what it means to be human. It would surely be a better world if those skills were widely shared across human beings of all stripes, yet the distinction between thinking and feeling is a false one, as any caregiver will tell you, and indeed an intertwining is profoundly important, for example, in occasions of mercy. One home and health aide I spoke to was cherished by her employer for being good at the hard cases. Newly assigned to a difficult client, she quickly figured out why so many of her predecessors had quit before her, soothed the client who was feeling ignored, and essentially reset the whole dynamic. She did not just by feeling her way, but by decoding the elderly client's signals and effectively diagnosing the situation so that she could change it. The example is one of many I heard about. Human connective labor involves both thinking and feeling, but so-called thinking jobs, say that of judges, also involve feeling. And if we consign analytic judgment to machines, then sooner or later, humans will be the ones offering false comfort to the forsaken. Instead, the ideal future is one where we defend human connective labor from its automation, and we start by protecting it from its degradation by the imposition of data collection requirements and efficiency campaigns. The ideal future is one where we welcome AI and technological development in all sorts of domains, from inventing new antibiotics to decoding sperm whale speech to predicting earthquakes. But in the future, we coordinate off from human connection, applying a connection criterion to its deployment. Right now, our unregulated environment means that AI is being sold as an appropriate tool for automating teachers, physicians, therapists, lawyers, and a host of other connective jobs. When we are inventing a new hammer, we need to remind ourselves that not everything is a nail. Wow, this writing, beautiful. It's just hits different, you know, when a real person loves writing and then writes beautifully. It's, wow, this is phenomenal. Good stuff. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The paradox of employee surveillance. Okay, this is totally new. I don't know what this is about, but it's gonna. I don't know what we're getting into, readers. Let's carry on. For many people, the global financial crisis. And we're done. We have to reset again. Boom. Are we there? Yes, we're there. Okay. Fine. Perfect. All right. For many people, the global financial crisis eroded trust for corporations. There was a double-digit decline of trust in large banks in particular. Wow. Dropping from 69 before the crisis to 49 in 2013. La 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 la. Okay. One troubling reaction to this shift is that some companies are starting to monitor employees' every click, word, and interaction to catch would-be trust violators. This is so creepy. This is so big brother of them. Holy cow. I wonder how much that cost even as well. In other words, they're trying to find a few bad apples by monitoring all of their workers. Monitoring employees can have benefits, but it can also decimate employee morale and paradoxically weaken ethical behavior. I'm curious to hear about that. Research suggests that when companies monitor an employee's every move, they signal distrust. Yeah, that's true. You go, this person doesn't trust me. Why am I going to do anything extra special for them if they just already think I'm a piece of trash? Disengaged employees are less productive, but they can also introduce new risks. Oh, yeah, because they don't care. They're just like not taking care of your stuff. They're not taking care of privacy. They don't care. They don't go the extra mile. They just kind of check out mentally. That makes sense. As people stop actively searching for the right thing to do and focus instead on mere compliance. Yeah, if you want a bot, you'll get a bot. I'm telling you. And I don't think you want a bot. I don't know who I'm talking to, but you get the gist. And it's off again. Why are you like this? Come on. All right. That seems to be what happened with a certain MetLife employees in 2017. The federal regulations and corresponding internal systems at the company required that insurers only contact a pension recipient twice. Once at the age of 65, and again 5 years later. Adhering closely to the rules, MetLife employees did just that, and subsequently failed to pay benefits. Oh, wow. To 13,500 customers. Had each claim processor taken a step back to think through the impact of the procedures on clients beyond the prescriptive rules given to them, they may have considered that retirees often move to a new address, and at that age, that increased efforts are required to reach them. The company's legal settlement with regulators in Massachusetts was $1 million. That's not even that much. Like, think about how much money. Is $1 million, like, did these people lose out on $1 million? I don't know. I want to assume no. I don't know. I don't know the rules. I'm just some guy. This seemingly small operations failure is leading to calls for more prescriptive rules. That's going to get annoying. And yet, monitoring employees does not always lead to inevitably to disengagement or conditioned tendencies toward mere compliance. Indeed, the increasing popular efforts to introduce more people analytics functions in organizations can be positive. By analyzing and experimenting with employee data, companies can create better teams, nudge people to make pro-social choices, or redesign processes to improve truth-telling and disclosure. But these interventions can yield good results only if we get the ethics right. And managing ethics related to monitoring and surveillance become particularly thorny in workplaces. In his book, The Ethics of Influence, Cass Sunstein, that's a cool name, explores the difference between coercion and influence. Influence, like that annoying calorie count next to the cheeseburger you want to enjoy, is an intervention that you can refuse or ignore. For an intervention to rise to the level of coercion, it needs to carry with it a threat of punishment or force. The employer-employee relationship can create this type of threat, or at least the perception of it. Many workers wish to keep their jobs. Yeah, no bills to pay. This is the case particularly in the US, where the balance of power and laws favor the company. Most of the protections Americans have for free speech or against unlawful speech is from protections from government intrusion, not from corporate action. Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't really think about that. Oh, what? Employer-provided devices, for example, give the company the right and ability to monitor employee activities only in narrow circumstances. Can employees effectively push back when companies think bathroom video surveillance, which is fortunately off limits? Ew. Why is that even? Ugh. Of course it should be off limits. It's, what? No. Holy cow. Okay. Surveillance is an office. Surveillance in an office isn't like a law enforcement drama where detectives lurk behind the scenes to covertly catch suspected criminals, because that's the only way to get the bad guys to change their ways. To be sure, the most orderly groups use some kind of coercive control to regulate behavior, but if a society or a company were to go too far, too many rules, no latitude for mistakes, the imposition of harsh punishment, this could create not only fear but also reduce individual acts of conscience and independent judgment. Instead of reviewing problems critically, employees may I feel like this is... What? There's a book about this now? There's a book. What is it? I just read it. What's... Atlas Shrugged. When everybody's an NPC because they're like, well, I don't know. Unfortunately, this line of thinking and surveillance strategy can decrease the risk. Well, I don't know. It's what my boss told me to do. That's what my boss told me. I don't do the thinking. I just take orders. Okay. Anyway, so what's an employee to do? We suggest have a mission, maybe care about people. I don't know. One, well, we got the answers here. Start with the foundation and perception of fairness. This is such a bummer article. Ah, jeez. How to not treat people like criminals before they do anything wrong. Okay, we'll just skim through that. 2, make any monitoring system transparent. If you're monitoring people, let them know. Oh, yeah, that'd be creepy if you were being watched but nobody told you. Ugh. Hold leaders accountable for the environments they create. Those companies that achieve the right balance between trust and control do so by requiring leaders to take responsibility for the environment they create. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Azish. That's a cool name. Let's end toxic productivity in the workplace. I have so many mixed feelings about this because I don't think work-life balance is for everybody. And I know I probably get hate for that everywhere in the world. But I think some people, when they're just like so obsessed and in love with their job that they don't, their vacation is work. But I don't think that's everybody, and I think that's fine. But I think you should do what works for you. That's all. TED Talk over. Thanks for coming. Toxic productivity is an unhealthy compulsion to be productive at all times, often at the expense of our mental and physical well-being, relationships, and overall quality of life. It's a common sentiment in today's work culture where the drive to be constantly productive is often celebrated, if not expected. Dude, I don't know, I'm just here in the West, but I heard that there's a thing called like 996. Where is that, in China? You just work 996. What's the 9? 9 hours a day? 9? No? I don't know. Or 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. Oh, people are already struggling to meet their corporate job requirements when you factor in a staggering 192% increase in weekly meetings post-pandemic. Oh, we are over-meeting, over-looping, over-collaborating, one of the worst habits brought on by the crisis. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Jeez Louise, I don't have time. But I learned the hard way that this joke isn't funny. The robust study of more than 12,000 global participants suggests that 82% of the workforce is at risk of burnout. Toxic productivity in a nutshell. Yeah, understanding the roots of toxic productivity is multifaceted and stems from a complex mix of psychological and social factors. I mean, we have a lot to contend with, you know, as if we're in a global marketplace. People 24-hour clock of news cycle. Anyway, the pandemic exacerbated these tendencies across domestic product. GDP fell sharply in the middle of the crisis. Let's see, what else? The era of overdoing anything. People are already struggling to meet the core job requirements. I wonder why. Is that maybe due to de-skilling, like we just read? But when you factor in staggering 192% increase in weekly meetings, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, I have somebody that meets with me like every day, sometimes twice a day, and I feel like that's too much. Too much for the workload. Anyway, just like, because I feel like you don't need to be talking that much. Just, you got to get the system down, but doing the system takes a little bit of time, Anyway, despite the long-standing perception that more hours, let me write that down. Despite the long-standing perception that more hours means high productivity, data and research are finding, don't they see that like 32 hours, you still get the same amount or even more work done than 40 hours? Employees who feel obligated to work after hours register 20% lower productivity scores. Yeah, because then you go, I still have to be here. I just gotta stretch that thing over the next several hours so I look like I'm doing things. Time poverty, gross. Which means having too many things to do and not enough time to do them in. The research found that employees working on weekends and holidays versus the standard Monday to Friday 9 to 5 should decrease in intrinsic motivation. Atlassian found that 78% of respondents struggle to complete their work due to excessive meetings and shocking. Yeah, especially if you have like meetings like chopped out throughout the day, it's really hard to do things. The meeting and manager paradigm is very helpful, I think. But I mean, you can't necessarily like tell your workplace to do that. 76% of respondents feel drained after days packed with meetings. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do anything afterward because then you're like wheeling and you're like, okay, now I have a task to do, and then I need to catch up on the work that I missed, blah, 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 blah. And 80% believe that they'd be more productive with less meeting time. Oh my goodness. Annie Dean, global head of team anywhere at Atlassian, came to her role after recognizing that her job as a corporate lawyer on Wall Street was starting to feel toxic. Sending an email just minutes before her son was born was a wake-up call. I could relate. In the early days of our startup, I brought my 2-week-old daughter into an investor meeting. As a woman, it's hard to reconcile that prioritizing your well-being is not antithetical to ambition. That's a tough one. When I started to go through that process of adapting as a young parent, I was like, there's something really broken here. She took on the role at Atlassian because she felt like they're making genuine effort to fix what's broken at work. With more autonomy and work-life harmony, Dean felt the benefits. She suggests that the current fracture of work isn't a bad thing. The way we work needs to break down completely because that will create completely new and better ways of working. That sounds exciting. The stigmatization of rest. Unfortunately, rest is bad, a 4-letter word in most workplaces. Hero culture is when people who stay late, skip vacations, and work weekends are celebrated. Ugh. Despite the well-known benefits of taking time off, including reduced stress, blah, 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 Pew Research finds that 49% of people who don't take the full PTO say they worry about falling behind. Oh gosh, and it's not even that much PTO. People in Europe get so much more time. Slack report also found that half of all, in my scrolling cell yesterday, half of all desk workers say they rarely or never take breaks during the workday. Eh? Geez, dining al desco with desktop dining is just another TikTok trend. Jeez, comes with serious consequences. People sat for more than 8 hours a day with no physical activity, had a mortality risk similar to that posed by obesity and smoking. Ew, disgusting. You could be like relatively healthy too. Toxic productivity disproportionately impacts women who are often burdened with the second shift of domestic duties. Thank you. Somebody been talking about this. A joint lean-in Oregon McKinsey study found that mothers are over 3 times more likely than fathers to handle the majority of household tasks and 1.5 times more likely to spend additional hours on chores and childcare. Oh, surprise. This dual burden makes it even harder for women to justify rest, leading to higher burnout. Yeah, you literally can't rest until everybody's like left the house. And maybe even not then, because I don't know if your husband's letting you do stuff. During the pandemic, organizations showed employees what they could do when the rubber hit the road, and change was required. Today, women are witnessing a reversal, and they're saying, we don't want to go backward, we want to go forward. Women no longer think that prioritizing one's personal life and being ambitious and being deeply committed to work are somehow antithetical. Could this explain why the growth of women's representation among senior leadership positions in the US dropped at the lowest rate in more than a decade? Or could it be a result of 2022 data from Lean In that shows that for every woman at the director level who gets promoted to the next level, 2 women directors are choosing to leave their company? Whoa. S&P Global Market Intelligence found that in the C-suite, women lost seats for the first time over the study from 2005 to 2023. They now only hold 11% of over 15,000 CEO seats of publicly traded companies in the US, with women continuing to make only incremental gains in the executive and C-level positions. It's time we recognize that work isn't working for women, and toxic productivity isn't helping. Loud vacationing. Okay, nice. PTO is encouraged. Slack found that employees who log off at the end of the workday registered 20% higher productivity scores. Yeah, nice. To get at the root of the cause of toxic productivity, start by analyzing employee workloads. Yeah. When Shopify canceled all recurring meetings involving more than 3 people, made Wednesdays meeting free, and pushed meetings with 50 plus staff into 6-hour window on Thursdays, it saved the company 322,000 hours. That's beautiful. The experiment with a company named Chaos Monkey was so successful that the company developed and embedded a cost calculator in employees' calendar app. Whoa! When meetings went 3 or more people are initiated, the widget will spit out a price estimate by factoring the number of attendees. The average compensation for the roles in meeting length. A 30-minute meeting with 3 employees costs up to $1,600, and a meeting with an exec starts at $2,000. Oh, wow. That's nice. It's kind of cool. Asana took on a similar experiment, but in a more DIY approach for team managers. Employees believed meetings were broken and that it was time for meeting doomsday to get rid of unnecessary meetings. The company offers a helpful template for doing this. Schedule a meeting doomsday. On this day, employees can delete all recurring meetings. Cool. I feel like it's good. It's good to have at least one free day, you know? Breaking this cycle of toxic productivity is no simple task. We're trying to change values-based belief that the size of the Titanic is centuries older, but I see glimmers of hope in these subtle shifts. Particularly women and Gen Z employees have started to push back on the antiquated perspective that tends to happen when you have a collective and existential crisis. Priorities change, and how you really want to spend the rest of your days comes into focus. The mindset gets people wondering, what will my biggest regret in life be? I can almost guarantee that no one will say, I wish I would have spent more time in meetings. They sure won't, Jennifer. Thank you. Again, this article is beautiful. I love it. And that's 42 minutes. That's one of the longest Bear episodes yet. So, hope you have a beautiful day, beautiful life. Thanks so much for watching if you made it to here, and I love you. Mwah.